You know, there are people in this world that don't have to put up with all this shit. Like that guy that invented the pet rock. You see, that's what you have to do. You have to use your mind and come up with some really great idea like that, and you can make millions, never have to work again.
You think the pet rock was a really great idea?
Sure it was. The guy made $1 million. You know, I had an idea like that once, a long time ago.
Really? What was it, Tom?
Well, all right. It was a jump to conclusions mat. You see, it would be this mat that you would put on the floor and would have different conclusions written on it that you could jump to.
Hi, everyone. This is A Case of the Mondays. I'm Teresa Dunlap. I wanted to talk today about trust and reliability and a few different areas and meanings for that. I do want to thank everyone on LinkedIn, Twitter, and YouTube for attending. So trust and reliability, I think it generally comes into our conversations in the sense of like, who do you trust? How do you gauge something is reliable or a product or a person is reliable? But I also want to touch a little bit on technology and how trust and reliability are factored in. So what does trust mean? And I think how trust is built is by being able to go back and understand if someone or something is reliable. And reliability is about being consistent. So I think that having access to someone or something that's reliable is how you come up into the point of building trust or having trust. And I think one of the things that I can go back and kind of remember a story about trust and reliability, and this had to do with I've worked in logistics, and so that's always a conversation. I could think of like a million stories to go back and tell you. But I do remember working in a DoD contract with Lion Vallon and the Marine Corps, and we were sorting some gear of that particular time, and how the protective gear that Marines were wearing, it was changing in color and design, and there was quite a few updates that were going on. So there was some recycling and some organizing new incoming designs and gear. So anyway, there was a supervisor that was really specific, and I think this was kind of the first time I realized like trust and reliability when you're in like a in more of a manufacturing or a storehouse type situation. It can have a different meaning because there's a bit more quantitative measure going on. So I remember hearing one of the someone from like the C-suite coming in and just kind of monitoring what was happening with the project, and hearing one person say, oh, well, there were 3 mistakes, or there were so many mistakes, and in how things were organized or being moved around. So I remember hearing someone say, oh, well, if they make 3 in 1,000 mistakes, it's better. It's actually considered like perfect. So reliability and trust, I think in reality, we like to think of it in the sense of of never making a mistake, or the reliability is based on never having had an error. And in reality, reliability is more of how you reliability is more about being consistent, because we live in an imperfect world and errors are going to happen. So I think trust is like kind of built off of, you know what, more often than not, this thing works, or this person is works, or and you get the outcomes, because I think trust and reliability is a lot about outcomes. So if you're getting the outcomes that you want the most, as often as you need, and that's, you know, that will have a general range from industry to industry, what people can tolerate as far as error goes, and how, what they consider reliable and what they consider trustworthy. I know at UPS, sometimes a customer would have just like one or two bad experiences, and then their trust would be built off of that. And of course, that would go into the back and forth game of do they continue with their carrier, or do they go to somebody new? And that had its own place in conversation. And I think that something that was kind of coming into business education when I was getting my my degree in business, part of our classes started to have a bit of project management, and I think that was really interesting. It really changed my perspective. I, of course, had paid for a completely separate program before that to get into project management and to understand the processes. And I think DMAIC is really applicable right here in this conversation, especially with manufacturing and logistics, because it's really the measure of how you control change and when to implement change. And I think that that comes down to these few points that I had to write them down, because there's just no way to. I don't spend enough time in that area to like have memorized it, but I think that it was really interesting. It changed my mindset, you know, just coming from like an ordinary person going to school and being interested in business, and having the project management aspect really changed how I thought about organizing and going and how to create a workflow. So in DMAIC, you want to define everything. You want to have like a specific. It's not just that like this thing is going wrong. You have to define everything. What things are going wrong, what solutions are available, what all of the other things that are going to come into place, like people, departments, all that stuff. You have to define that first. And then you have to spend some time measuring where the stopping points are going to be at. And that has a lot and I think that goes into a lot now, because we have technology integrated into like every industry. So, and that can be, you know, if you start a process with your sales team and you aren't getting the outcomes that you are looking for, then that can be a way to start quantifying, you know, where do we stop this process? Where is this process going to stop benefiting and start to harm the business? So that, you know, and in some industries that can go into mathematics and like standard deviations and that type of thing to start to understand where you want to have stopping points. Is it beneficial to stop and reset, or is it worth it to keep working through and try to like recycle or something like that? So just as an example. And of course that goes into like the the analytics, and you want to understand your root causes, because the one thing that is important is if you're going to stop a process and implement change, then you have to understand where the actual problems came from, which that all goes into whether it's reliable and you can trust your decisions or that change. And then of course, there's always room for improvement. So, and the improvements are like the variables that will impact, whether you end up with another breakdown or if it's going to be an additional solution that expands the benefit. And of course, control is part of that, the DMAIC process. And I always like to call that the lessons learned. One of the things I thought was really interesting about when I was in school and we were kind of working up a mock project, was the opportunity to create lessons learned, which was basically how you let the next project or the next experience understand what kinds of difficulties that they could come across in general that are just common for whatever that is, and then when the project is being created, those things can go into plan and save time and money. So I thought that this was a really interesting topic because of, like, depending on what you do, you can see trust and reliability as more of an emotional gauge and measure, or you can see it as more of a mathematical measure of a variety of different things but the outcomes are generally meant to create more solutions and more benefits and keep, in the sense of business, to keep things growing and going forward, and to build more revenue. So and I think this is also something that I made a note to myself to bring up what gets the most attention, right? And I think that can be it can be the negatives, the breakdowns, the things that cause delays, to cause frustration. I know I think I had an experience one time that using technology, which I think is just, I'm all for it. I use it a lot. I think it actually simplifies my life and helps me get through a lot without as much effort as if I didn't have it, or or it helps me attain quality of living or quality of work that I wouldn't be able to if I was doing manually. So I'm a fan of technology and using it and properly using it. But I know that there can be experiences, especially in logistics and just some of my past experiences. If you have some technology that's put in place and then there's a breakdown somewhere, it doesn't have to be on your side. It can be whatever you're integrated to. That can really affect how you get things done. And if you don't, and how you trust the technology and the process is understanding where it came from. Like, what does the technology simplify, so that if it breaks down, what steps to take next, and you can trust that you can still get the job done because you know where to go specifically. For example, in logistics, if your technology is to integrate to your dispatch, and instead of emails or instead of waiting for people to get into the office and pick up the phone and then relay some information, you have a computer that will relay information. Then your dispatch can get in and they see things on the board and they can like signal out the next steps. And I think that if you implement technology and you don't know what it is helping you, what problems it helps you solve, then you won't really know how to push through those situations when there's a breakdown in communication through the technology. And that's where I think you get people who are like, oh, it doesn't work. Because the first time that something happens, there's kind of like this, oh, well, look at how inconvenient that was. And we just should go back to doing it manually, because there's this, you have to give it the opportunity to stop and reset and integrate back together and then start the process again. And I think that that's, depending on where you're at and who you are and how much workflow you have to deal with, you could see it as that technology is not trustworthy, and what you experience in your own effort is that can come into play. Or you can understand that, okay, this we had to stop for this period of time, this is how much loss was incurred, and when we reestablish the connection, this is how much we were able to catch back up. And so that was kind of an example that I had from a past work experience is having, once that breakdown happened, you had to know who to call, where to go, what questions to ask, and then what things to put into play. Like, did you cancel the order, or did you go ahead and push the physical world of the actual pickups and get the logistics going into the operation side, and then kind of catch up the technology and the admin side later? Or did you, just cancel? So anyway, I wanted to keep today kind of short, because I have an appointment I have to go to. But DJ, thank you so much. Yes, trust and reliability is super hard in logistics, for sure. We can only control so much in such a large system, and so many different activities and people to manage to keep everything going. I mean, I kind of look forward to the day when people are just managing, technology and, as we already see, there's some systems where a lot of robotics are helping out with the efficiency. But that, it's still a divided industry for sure. And hi, Whitney. Oh my gosh, love you. Thank you so much for always showing up and supporting me. So I will leave you with that. I hope that was an interesting topic, and you have some, something to think on today and throughout this week, and have a wonderful week.